Mr. Secretary. It's nice to see you again.
Thank you, Senator. Likewise.
I think you're a nice man, and I mean that. I am in awe of Ms. Jankowicz. I have watched her with slack-jawed astonishment. Who picked her?
Senator Kennedy, it's nice to see you as well. The Department of Homeland Security selected Ms. Jankowicz.
Who at the department picked her?
Senator, we don't discuss our internal hiring processes, but I am the Secretary of Homeland Security, and ultimately I am responsible.
When the department picked her, did it know that she had said that Mr. Hunter Biden's laptop is Russian disinformation?
Senator, let me repeat myself and add one other fact. I was not aware of that. We do not discuss the internal hiring process. Ultimately, as the Secretary, I'm responsible for the decisions of the Department of Homeland Security.
When the department picked Ms. Jankowicz, did it know that she had vouched for the veracity of the Steele dossier?
Senator, let me repeat myself and add an additional fact. One, we do not discuss internal hiring processes. Two, I was not aware of that fact. Three, as the Secretary of Homeland Security, I am responsible for the decisions of the department. And four, it is my understanding that Ms. Jankowicz is a subject matter expert in the field in which she will be working on behalf of the department.
Yeah, I can tell. When the department picked her, was the department aware of her TikTok videos?
Senator,
They're really quite precocious.
Senator, I was not aware of those videos. I, as a secretary, am responsible for the decisions of the department. The department does not discuss its internal hiring processes.
Well, how will this DGB work? For example, when President Obama said, with respect to Obamacare, when he said, if you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor, is that something that the DGB will investigate?
Senator, the working group that we named the Disinformation Governance Board does not have operational authority and does not have operational capability. But there's a more fundamental principle that really strikes at the question that you have posed, and that is that our mission is to protect the security of the homeland. And we address disinformation when it threatens the security of the homeland. For example,
okay, let me interrupt you, Mr. Secretary, because I don't have much time. I'd like to hear that example, and perhaps we can talk privately. I want to continue probing how your DGB will work. When President Clinton was being investigated for having an affair with a White House intern, and he said, I did not have sex with that woman, Ms. Lewinsky. Is that something the DGB would investigate?
Senator, again, let me be clear that the department's responsibility is to address disinformation that threatens the security of the homeland. And importantly, the working group was established because this disinformation work has been ongoing for nearly 10 years. The working group was established precisely to protect against the infringement on individuals' First Amendment rights, precisely to protect the right of privacy.
Can I ask you a couple of more before I run out of time? I think the chairman may let me go over a minute. I hope he does. Will the DGB be given its own police, its own enforcement powers?
Senator, as I have articulated, the working group does not have operational authority or capability. Its purpose is to make sure that the work that is underway in protecting the homeland, that has been executed for nearly 10 years, is done within guardrails according to policies and standards that ensure that that work does not infringe on people's fundamental First Amendment rights, right of privacy, civil rights, and civil liberties.
Right. Yeah, the government's going to tell us what's true. What could possibly go wrong?
Quite,
Can I ask you one last question?
Of course, and that is quite incorrect. That is quite incorrect.
Is the DGB going to accept referrals from the public where people can call in and say, I think Senator so-and-so said something untrue, and I want you to subpoena him?
Senator, it is so very important that I correct a misstatement that you made, that the Department of Homeland Security is going to be the truth police. That is the farthest thing from the truth. We protect the security of the homeland, and once again allow me to articulate what I have said previously, which is that the working group does not have operational capability and authority. It is to make sure that there are policies in place, standards in place to protect the very rights about which you inquire.
Mr. Chairman, this will be my last comment. Mr. Secretary, I meant what I said. It is nice to see you, and I do think you're a nice man. But I would call in as soon as you get back to the office, and I would ask that person who recommended Ms. Jankowicz to you, and I would fire him on the spot.
Senator Hyde-Smith. I don't care. If you want to do it. Yeah, I can shorten mine too. Pursuant to notice, I now call up H.Res. 1239, a resolution of inquiry directing the Attorney General to provide certain documents in his possession to the House of Representatives relating to the October 4th, 2021 memorandum issued by the Attorney General entitled Partnership Among Federal, State, Local, Tribal, and Territorial Law Enforcement to Address Threats Against School Administrators, Board Members, Teachers, and Staff for purposes of markup, and move that the committee report the resolution unfavorably to the House. The clerk will report the resolution.
H.Res. 1239.
Without objection, the resolution is considered as read and open for amendment at any point. I will begin by recognizing myself for an opening statement. Like the previous resolution of inquiry, H.Res. 1239 seeks information related to the Attorney General's memorandum directing the Department of Justice resources to address threats against school administrators, board members, and teachers and staff. Because it suffers from all the same flaws, focusing on an invented scandal rather than the real threat facing school officials across the country, I will oppose it for the same reasons and will not take up more of the committee's time on an opening statement. I urge all members to report the resolution unfavorably. I now recognize the ranking member of the Judiciary Committee, the gentleman from Ohio, Mr. Jordan, for his opening statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We've sent over 100 letters trying to get answers from this administration on this issue. We've sent them to the FBI, to the DOJ, to the U.S. attorneys, to the Department of Education. It's amazing how many agencies were involved in this targeting of moms and dads. You had the DOJ, you had the White House, you had the Department of Education, you had the Department of Homeland Security, and of course you had the FBI. We're simply asking for the stuff from the Justice Department. You all know the history here. We've debated this in the committee, but letter after letter goes unanswered. That's why we're actually pushing this resolution of inquiry. We hope that the majority will see the light and support us in getting information and answers to the questions where now, as I said before, we know of over 24 parents who were investigated by the FBI, none of them charged, but investigated by the FBI for simply showing up, speaking up on behalf of their son or daughter. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I would yield back.
Without objection, all other opening statements will be included in the record. I now recognize myself for purposes of offering an amendment in the nature of a substitute. The clerk will report the amendment.
Amendment in the nature of a substitute to H.Res. 1239.
Without objection, the amendment in the nature of a substitute will be considered as read and shall be considered as base text for purposes of amendment. I will recognize myself to explain the amendment. This amendment makes only technical changes to the underlying resolution, such as capitalizing the words memorandum and task force and using President Biden's complete middle name. Otherwise, the amendment makes no substantive changes. I yield back the balance of my time. Are there any amendments to the amendment nature of a substitute? For what purpose does Mr. Johnson seek recognition? Council of Louisiana.
Speak on the